With such clear signs of escalation, the risk of Russia attacking a NATO nation feels higher than ever. And in accordance with Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, any attack on a NATO member is treated as an attack on the entire alliance, with all 32 members obligated to respond. And while 32 countries versus one may sound like a very uneven fight, Russia still has the potential to deal enormous damage to any country in its path and could call on its own allies, namely the likes of North Korea, Iran, and possibly even China, to join its side in the ensuing global battle. And speaking of China, the Asian nation is arguably the second most likely to initiate World War III at this point in time, according to many experts. Experts like Xie Risheng, the Deputy Chief of the General Staff for Intelligence at Taiwan's Defense Ministry, who also issued a warning cry regarding Trump's 28-point Ukraine peace plan. Criticizing the plan at the Warsaw Security Forum, the Deputy Chief warned that if Russia is allowed to expand its aggression, China could seize the opportunity to launch its own offensive in Taiwan. If China moves on Taiwan while Russia increases its offensive in Ukraine, the world could face a two-front geopolitical crisis. Numerous other analysts have also grown increasingly concerned about the threat of imminent Chinese action in Taiwan, especially as relations between China and the US have broken down in recent times due to tariff-related spats between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's also common knowledge that Beijing sees the island nation of Taiwan as an integral piece of its plans to unify Chinese territory. It's become increasingly aggressive towards the island over the course of recent years, denouncing Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party, which won its third term in power in 2024, while carrying out live-fire military exercises in the Taiwan Strait, which some have deemed a mere dress rehearsal for a possible real blockade in an attempt to overthrow the government in Taipei in the future, according to the BBC. China has also been seen carrying out additional live-fire drills in other areas, close to Vietnam and Australia, for example, while testing out various equipment that appears designed for a full-scale invasion of Taiwan, like new landing barges and deep-sea cable cutters that could effectively sever Taiwan's communications with the outside world. The US, meanwhile, has thrown its weight behind Taiwan, providing financial, military, and political support for the island, further fanning the flames of a conflict that seems more imminent and inevitable than ever before. Indeed, many observers feel that China could take military action against Taiwan as soon as 2027, especially as this year has special significance, marking the 100-year anniversary of the People's Liberation Army. But if China wants Taiwan, it's most likely going to have to get through America first. US officials have repeatedly emphasized a clear eagerness or even a sense of duty to defend Taiwan at all costs, and their Chinese counterparts understand that a Taiwan invasion would, according to Time magazine, risk direct war with the US. Unfortunately, that may not be enough to deter China, and it's already taking steps to prepare for such an eventuality. It's built the world's biggest naval force, for example, and is going to great lengths to strengthen the other branches of its military, investing in new missiles and other technologies to defend itself and potentially unleash havoc on its enemies. It even intends to expand its existing nuclear arsenal, which already stands at an estimated 600 warheads, which would put the US in a far more perilous position, as noted by Dr. Siddharth Kaushal of the Royal United Service Institute. This will make things even more complex for the US because it will face the prospect, theoretically, of a China-Russian alliance that has more nuclear weapons than it does. But before China potentially kicks off World War III, another even more volatile Asian nation risks getting there first: North Korea. Despite its small size, at least when compared to the major military powers mentioned so far, North Korea remains a nuclear power and has been working tirelessly to ramp up its military capabilities in recent years, developing and testing numerous cruise and ballistic missiles. While many of their designs are believed to be flawed, some may have the potential to travel large distances, bringing countries across the globe into Pyongyang's range. And on the southern side of the Korean peninsula, officials are growing increasingly fearful of all-out war. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, for example, recently admitted that the peninsula is in a very dangerous situation, with a very real possibility of war breaking out at almost any moment. Lee noted that North Korea has so far refused to answer calls from Seoul aimed at establishing contact and calming the situation. The North has also erected barbed wire fences along its military border, an act that hasn't been seen since the days of the Korean War, and made multiple incursions into South Korean territory, with Reuters noting, "There have been more than 10 border incursions by North Korean soldiers this year, some leading to South Korean troops firing warning shots under established protocol. It's increasingly possible that one of these incursions could lead to full-scale conflict. All it would take is one of those warning shots striking and killing a North Korean soldier. And all of a sudden, Pyongyang could erupt, launching missiles and more over the border at its southern neighbour. Indeed, many fear that this is exactly the scenario North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, is planning for, as the dictator has consistently shown declining interest in any sort of peaceful unification with the South. South Korea, too, has been forced to follow a similar course, scrapping a 2018 non-hostility pact that was supposed to ease military tensions on the peninsula. As The Independent notes, Kim's government has repeatedly dismissed calls by Seoul and Washington to restart long-stalled negotiations aimed at winding down his nuclear weapons and missile programs, as he continues to prioritize Russia as part of a foreign policy aimed at expanding ties with nations confronting the US. It's also concerning to see what an active role North Korea has taken in Russia's war with Ukraine. Pyongyang has sent thousands of troops, engineers, and other workers to either fight on the front lines or help Russia repair its infrastructure. It's also been one of the most generous of Russia's small pool of allies, sending huge amounts of ammunition and other supplies to fuel the Kremlin's war machine while strengthening its ties with the Putin regime. Many experts worry what Pyongyang stands to gain in return for all of this generosity. It's already received plenty of financial backing from Moscow, with vital funds helping North Korea stave off a serious food crisis. But it could also benefit from Russian technologies or military systems that might massively empower the North Korean army. And with Pyongyang also making and launching more missiles on an increasingly regular basis, as well as unveiling new weapon systems, like its Choi-Yon-class destroyer, which is said to be capable of firing nuclear ballistic missiles, the country's ambitions appear very concerning. Dr. Sean Kenji Stars, a lecturer at King's College London, predicts the more likely scenario involving China pressuring Pyongyang to launch an attack on South Korea. This in turn could open a new front against the US so that China can more easily take Taiwan. Yet, it may not even be in Asia that the next world war begins. The fourth and final potential flashpoint location identified by many experts is the Middle East, which has seen enormous amounts of conflict and bloodshed in recent years, whether that be in Iran, Iraq, Gaza, Yemen, or elsewhere. While President Trump played his part in brokering a peace deal between Israel and Hamas, announcing a historic dawn of a new Middle East in October, the two sides have since continued to launch attacks against one another. Meanwhile, the threat posed by Iran's burgeoning nuclear program hasn't disappeared, even after the US launched numerous airstrikes against Iranian nuclear facilities back in June. At the time, Trump originally claimed that the country's nuclear capabilities has been all but eliminated, but those claims were swiftly debunked, and reports now suggest that Iran maintains close to 1,000 pounds, 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium, with Paul Ingram, research affiliate for the Centre of Existential Risk at the University of Cambridge, noting, "The belief amongst most of us in the expert community is that the Iranians will have taken that 440 kilograms away from dangerous sites prior to the bombing, and the bombing itself wouldn't have destroyed the sites, it would have just made them less accessible. It all adds up to quite a dangerous situation where their capacity has been marginally degraded, but the incentives for Iran to go nuclear have gone through the roof." Ingram went on to note that Iran may be feeling increasingly cornered and likely to lash out, since its other strategic deterrence capabilities, like its proxy groups, Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, have been heavily damaged by Israel. As a result, the calls within Tehran to develop nuclear deterrence will have massively increased. Fellow professor Andy Sterling of the University of Sussex has also raised the alarm about a nation like Iran, North Korea, or Russia potentially deploying nuclear weapons in the not too distant future. We've been living under an absolutely massive nuclear threat for decades, and at some point, our luck is going to run out. All in all, the global political situation appears increasingly bleak, and numerous signs suggest that World War III is turning from a possibility into a probability with every passing day. The only questions left are where and how will it begin, and how will it end? Now, you can learn more about rising tensions between Russia and NATO in particular in this video, which explores how the alliance recently called Putin's nuclear bluff, delivering a killer blow to the Kremlin's confidence.